Hello, this will be a quick unboxing and review video of a Addiesdive model AD2035 that I purchased on AliExpress during their 11/11 sale. And I got this one for about $51 USD after a $5 coupon. So let's go ahead and take a look at the box. It comes in the typical Addiesdive hard shell plastic case. You're gonna get a generic manual, a warranty card, and of course the watch, and a bracelet sizing tool. Let's go ahead and take a look at the watch, get it unpacked. And I will not bore you with removing all the plastics. I'll go ahead and do that off camera. And we'll come back, take a look at the details. But there it is, and this is an obvious homage to a Tudor Black Bay Pro GMT. So let me go ahead and get this all unwrapped, and we'll come back and take a look. And here's the watch with all the plastic removed. Now this is a GMT model, and this is my first GMT watch. I really have no interest in tracking a second time zone. I really don't have a need for that. I live a pretty boring life. But I was interested in this watch because it kind of reminds me of a Black Bay steel. And that watch I am interested in. So this steel bezel kind of reminds me of that Black Bay steel, although this is a fixed GMT bezel versus a diving bezel. So let's get dimensions out of the way. We have a 40 millimeter bezel diameter, a 39 millimeter case diameter. The lug to lug width is 48.5, and it does have these inverted end links, which is nice. So the end links do not add any lug to lug width. We have a case thickness of only 12.8 millimeters. The lug width is 20 millimeters, and the crown diameter is 7 millimeters. Okay, let's talk about some of the features of this watch. Well, first we have all 316L steel construction. It has a mineral crystal with AR coating, and it does appear to be slightly domed, but there's really no distortion, so it must be double domed. It has VGW9 loom, which is usually very excellent on these Addiesdives. It has a screw down crown. It has a screw down case back. It's rated at 200 meters of water resistance. And it includes a Swiss Parts Ronda 515 GMT quartz movement. Addiesdive did a really nice job with the finishing of this case. We've got a brushed case on the top. The sides are also brushed with linear brushing. It has a highly polished chamfer that runs along the top of the case. So overall, I'm very happy with the finish of this, and I prefer the brushed look versus a highly polished case. The bracelet is all stainless steel. It features solid female end links, which are 20 millimeters, and it tapers down to 16 millimeters at the clasp. It uses standard push pins to hold the links together. The bracelet is fully brushed, which I really like that look. The ends are polished. And in terms of the clasp, we do have an Addiesdive logo, which is engraved into the clasp assembly. Again, not a huge fan of that. I kind of wish they would have maybe left that off. We have 5 holes of micro adjustment, and it looks like it has a milled scissor hinge assembly here. And the clasp itself is a push to release clasp. So overall, it looks pretty nice, and notice there are no rivets. Looking at the dial details, it is printed in a flat black. We have an Addiesdive logo at 12 o'clock. And honestly, it looks a little bit cartoonish to me, almost like an Angry Bird. We have an orange GMT hand, a date at 3, At 6 o'clock, it says GMT, which is also printed in orange. Deep Sea Hunter, 200 meters, 660 feet. The hour indices are printed in white BGW9 loom. The minute track is also printed in white. Now there's also a vintage variant of this watch, which has more of a patina look to the loom. I preferred the more traditional Tudor style dial. Next, let's check the function of the GMT movement. So we do have a 7mm signed crown. That is a threaded crown, so we're going to go ahead and unthread this crown. The very first position, you will set the date and the GMT hand, and then the second position will hack the movement and allow you to adjust the time, just like any other quartz. So you can see as I advance the hour hand, the GMT hand is also moving, but not at the same rate, because that's only going to move once around the dial every 24 hours versus twice for the hour hand. Now with this particular design, because it has a fixed bezel, we're only allowed to track one additional time zone. So I'm going to go ahead and push this back in. We'll go back out to the very first position. Rotating this clockwise, we'll set the date, and setting it counterclockwise, you can adjust the GMT hand in one direction only. So with this watch, I could set this to a second time zone, or I could simply set it to the same time zone and just use this as a 24-hour hand. Now I'll go ahead and thread this back in. And actually that thread action is very, very nice. It's a very smooth crown. So with a quartz watch, one thing we like to check for is the alignment of the second hand to see how well it is aligned with each tick mark. And as you can see with this one, it is off by a little bit. Normally, I'm not too concerned with that, and I have been known to actually remove second hands and reset them for better alignment. Now, since this watch has a painted hand stack, I'm not sure if I'm going to do that or not. I'm just worried that I might scratch the second hand paint. Looking at the case back, we have a screw down case back with traditional notches to remove it in order to replace the battery. We have a large Addiesdive logo in the middle, and around the case back we have writing which says Addiesdive, all stainless steel, Deep Sea Hunter, Sport, Diving, Divers 200 meter. And here is a shot after resizing the bracelet. I have a 6.5-inch wrist, and I removed 4 links, and I am on the outside hole of the micro adjustment. But it does seem to fit pretty nice. It looks pretty good on my 6.5-inch wrist. For comparison, here's a Pagani PD1718, which is also a 39.5mm bezel. This is an homage to a BB58 if Tudor made a chronograph version, which they don't. For the loom challenge, we have the Addiesdive GMT. We have another Addiesdive Quartz watch. Next to that is a San Martin, and on the right is a Seiko 5. I gave them a healthy charge. Let's hit the lights and see how they perform. You can see they all look pretty good right now. So we're going to wait about 20 minutes and come back and check it again. Well, I had some lunch and I forgot to come back. I finally made it back in about an hour and a half, and unfortunately this is the best I can get with my camera. It wouldn't pick up any of the watches. I guess you have to trust me that the Addiesdive did hold its own against the Seiko and San Martin. Not quite as bright, but not bad either. Well, what are my overall views of this watch? Well, I really like the look of this watch because I am a big fan of Tudor, and I do like the look of the Tudor Pro 39 GMT, which this is really a perfect homage of that watch. Getting some pretty good features as far as being all stainless steel construction, a Swiss parts Rwanda GMT quartz movement, some pretty good lume. What are the cons? I'd say the biggest issue, which is fairly minor, is just that the second hand is not hitting the mark perfectly. It's a little bit out of alignment. And the fact that it has a mineral crystal versus a sapphire crystal. But again, for $50, you really can't expect all that much. Now, let's compare it to maybe something like the other Addiesdive Submariner watches. These are also quartz. They use a Japanese Miyota quartz movement. Also mineral crystal, does have pretty good lume. Now these you can usually get for under $30. So these are really probably one of the best deals on AliExpress in terms of a quality quartz watch. But if you want something that looks a little bit nicer or a little bit different, then maybe check out this Addiesdive's AD2035. Well, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them down below.